The golden sun was sinking low over the endless plains of the Wild West, casting long amber streaks across the quiet riverside, where the water glimmered like liquid fire and the tall grass swayed with the whisper of the evening wind. And in that calm setting walked a man whose rugged face told the tale of countless battles with fate, a man shaped by dust, storms, and bullets, yet softened in this rare moment by the gentle hand of his wife, resting in his calloused palm, her eyes bright with trust as they strolled together by the water's edge, speaking in low tones of dreams not yet broken by hardship, and of a future they hoped would one day belong to them, free from the cruelty of outlaws and the loneliness of the trail. He was a cowboy, a drifter hardened by the frontier, but to her he was more than a gunman. He was the keeper of her safety, her protector, her partner, and tonight he allowed himself to believe, just for a fleeting moment, that peace might truly be theirs. Though somewhere in the stillness of the wilderness there stirred a darker presence, something unseen yet felt in the air, a raw hunger carried on the wind, a shadow moving silently through the tall grass, watching, waiting, stalking, while the couple laughed quietly, the man pointing out how the river bent like a silver snake toward the horizon, and the woman smiling, saying it felt like the land itself was blessing them with calm after years of running. But then, just as he was about to answer, a sound reached his ear, low and strange, like a distant cackle, breaking the harmony of the crickets and the song of the flowing water, and his brows knit together as he froze for a fraction of a second, scanning the darkening tree line, though he said nothing, not wanting to alarm her, for he had learned that sometimes the West tested you not with bullets, but with silence and waiting eyes, and deep within his gut he felt the prickle of unease, the instinct of a man who had seen too many ambushes and too many graves dug in the cold earth. Yet he forced a half-smile, squeezed her hand gently, and continued walking, though his other hand was never far from the revolver holstered at his side, for the Wild West taught every soul that peace was only ever borrowed, and danger, sooner or later, always came to collect its due. The air split with a sudden shriek as the beast burst from the tall grass, its eyes burning like coals, its teeth bared in a snarl that sent a chill even through the cowboy's seasoned spine. And in that instant instinct overtook thought, his arm sweeping his wife behind him as the hyena lunged, a blur of muscle and fury, claws scraping the earth. And though his revolver was drawn in the blink of an eye, the shot cracked wide, echoing across the river as the animal twisted with terrifying speed, the bullet grazing its flank, but doing nothing to stop the momentum of its charge. And the cowboy braced himself as the creature slammed into him, knocking him to the ground in an explosion of dust and gravel, its fetid breath hot on his face as jaws snapped inches from his throat, his wife's scream cutting through the chaos like a knife. Yet he felt no time to hear it, for survival consumed him, every muscle straining as he shoved the beast back with one arm while fumbling desperately for his knife with the other. But the hyena was stronger than he expected, heavier, its body a furnace of wild power pressing him into the dirt, its growl vibrating through his bones. And for a moment he felt the sting of mortality, the taste of death creeping into his lungs as his chest crushed beneath its weight. But then his training, his grit, the raw will that had carried him through barroom brawls and outlaw ambushes, rose like fire inside him, and with a roar he twisted, ramming his forearm between the beast's jaws, flesh tearing as teeth sank into his sleeve. Yet it gave him the leverage to push, to roll, to claw for the knife at his belt. And with one desperate pull he ripped it free, steel flashing in the dying light of the sun, his wife crying out his name as the hyena snapped again, its head whipping toward her now, hunger and madness driving it. And he knew in that instant that failure was not an option, that if he faltered for even a heartbeat, she would be torn apart before his eyes. So with every ounce of strength he lunged, slamming the blade into the beast's side, a guttural snarl breaking from its throat as hot blood sprayed across his hands. But still it fought, writhing, clawing, refusing to yield, and he stabbed again, each thrust fueled not only by rage, but by love. by the unshakable need to keep her safe, until finally the hyena staggered back, shrieking, its legs faltering, its eyes dimming, and it collapsed into the dust, twitching, defeated, while the cowboy staggered to his feet, chest heaving, arm bleeding, knife dripping crimson, his wife rushing to his side, tears streaking her face as she threw her arms around him, whispering thanks through sobs. And he held her close despite the pain, whispering back that as long as he breathed, nothing in this wild land would ever take her from him. And as the river carried away the echoes of the battle, he stood tall again, bruised but unbroken, a silhouette of grit and love against the fading sun, a man who had stared into the eyes of death and spat back defiance. And though the West would never cease to test him, he knew in his heart that together they could endure it all. And as the scene faded, the voice of the narrator rang with solemn pride. In the Wild West, danger lurks where you least expect it. But courage, love, and willpower can conquer even the fiercest beasts. If this story stirred your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more legendary tales of survival, courage, and undying love. The river whispered like a ghost in the dark, its silver sheen stretched under the pale moonlight as the cowboy and his wife sat on the bank, the battle still etched on their faces, the blood of the fallen beast staining the soil where the grass bent low in mourning. And though the hyena's body lay silent now, the memory of its snarls seemed to linger in the air, a reminder that the frontier was never truly quiet, never truly safe. And as he bound the torn flesh of his arm with strips of his own shirt, his wife's trembling hands assisting, she whispered in a voice cracked with both fear and awe that she had never seen. Such courage, never felt so close to losing him, yet so proud to call him hers. And the cowboy, weary but resolute, lifted his gaze to the endless horizon, his mind replaying every second of the struggle, the weight of the animal, the fire in its eyes, the moment where death seemed certain, but love had driven his blade deeper, harder, until victory was carved from the edge of despair. And he thought of all the dangers he had faced, outlaws with rifles cocked, duels at dawn, dust storms that swallowed entire camps. Yet none had shaken him as much as the thought of losing her, for in the brutal heart of the West, where law came second to survival, she was his anchor, his reason to keep standing, his only taste of gentleness in a world built on grit and gunpowder. And so, as the night deepened and coyotes howled far away in the hills, he pulled her close, promising in a low, steady tone that no matter what hunted them, no matter what shadows rose from the wild, he would fight them all one by one, with every last breath if he had to, because this land could strip a man of many things, his home, his fortune, even his blood, but it would never take her, not while his heart still beat. And she laid her head on his shoulder, whispering that she believed him, that she would walk by his side through every trial, through every danger, until at last they found the peace they both longed for. And as the fire of their small camp crackled, painting their faces with warmth against the chill of night, the camera of imagination pulled back, revealing the vastness of the land around them, the endless plains stretching like an ocean of shadows, where new dangers surely lurked, where new battles would come, but also where new stories would rise. And the narrator's voice, steady and strong, returned like a guiding star. The West is not kind, nor is it merciful, but in its dust and danger lie the tales of men and women who dare to stand, to fight, to love. This was only one story, one battle, but the frontier is filled with countless more. If you wish to hear them, to feel them, to ride again with courage and fire, then subscribe to this channel. Join us on this trail and be part of the legend.